We are recording, so we're good to go. My name is Melody Yoder. I'm a librarian here at Lima Public Library. Today, Ericka Boddie with Allen County Children's Services is going to present called Through Their Eyes, their first night of placement. And I'll let her tell us more about herself. I'm going to mute audio or ask you to please mute your audio while she's speaking, and then we'll open it back up at the end.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I am more familiar with Teams, so let's see if we get this to go. Look at that. All right, give me 1 second to see if it will pop up for you, if you will see what I'm. All right, are you guys able to see my screen? Perfect. All righty. Well, it is a pleasure to be presenting for you all today. My name is Ericka Boddie, and I'm the Foster Care and Adoption Supervisor with Allen County Children's Services. And I will be presenting Through Their Eyes, Reflection of a Child's First Night in Care. As we go through this presentation, please feel free to ask questions by raising your hand, or if Melody can assist, via the chat box feature. And I will stop and answer questions throughout. This presentation is based off the book, Everybody's Son, and after reading the book, I was very impressed with how realistic and descriptive the author was in capturing what all the characters' raw emotions were from each of their perspectives. She captured the child Anton's perspective, the foster parent's perspective, the biological mother's perspective, as well as the community's perspective. And again, I will be presenting on this here. So again, my name is Ericka, and there is my contact information and who I'm with. So in the event, if you guys have any future questions, my email is there. You can always reach out. Towards the end of the presentation, there's also going to be my contact information as well via phone, and I'm available. So feel free to do so if need be. So we'll go ahead and we will get started. All right. So meet the Antons of foster care. On any given day, there are approximately 16,000 children in foster care in Ohio. In Allen County, we currently have 51 children in agency custody. Children in custody range from ages 0 to 18 or up to 21 in special cases. Each of these children come with their own unique abuse and or neglect history and their own special needs. In other words, each child's foster care journey is experienced differently. Minorities are disproportionately represented in foster care, and Anton's journey is reminiscent of a lot of minority children placed in foster homes of different races. There is a need for minority foster parents. Who are foster parents? Ohio foster parents are Ohio Department of Job and Family Services trained and licensed foster homes monitored by county public children's services agencies, or PCSAs. Allen County currently has 36 foster or foster to adopt homes. To become licensed in Ohio, all families have to complete a home study, which consists of a series of interviews to assess suitability for foster care, while also completing background checks consisting of local, state, and national checks via fingerprinting, a sex offender registry check, and an Ohio SACWIS check. Ohio SACWIS is the actual statewide system that we utilize in order to connect with all 88 counties in Ohio. And included in that, we have the ability to search for any previous alleged perpetrator history, meaning that an adult who was previously indicated, investigated, or found to be an actual alleged perpetrator of abuse and or neglect. Foster parents also complete pre-service training, which is actual training to prepare them for placement. Currently, there are 36 pre-service training hours, and they're offered all over the state at different times. We host them here in Allen County twice a year, once in the fall and then once again in the spring. However, there's going to be some new changes, and the foster care training hours will be reducing for a number of reasons. So we're excited about that. So it's going from 36 hours to 24 in the near future. Reasons children enter custody. Abuse, and there are different types of abuse. There is physical, emotional, and or sexual abuse. Neglect, and there can be medical neglect, educational neglect, supervisional neglect, abandonment. And in Ohio, abandonment means that a caregiver, parent, or guardian has not had contact with the child for 90 days or longer, and or environmental neglect. And also dependency, which can be homelessness or the caregiver lacks parental care by reason of mental or physical condition of the child or parent, or their environment warrants us to get involved. So those are the reasons why pretty much children enter care in Ohio. So now I want to see if anyone has, I guess, any questions along the way. Can anyone think of ways or of neglect or dependency that Anton was going through in the book? And if you can't, I'll give you some examples. I didn't know if anyone wanted to share anything. No? All right. Well, I'll give you my opinion of what some of those were. Obviously, the big one would be substance abuse. That was the reason why, obviously, Anton entered care. His mother battled with an addiction. Neglect, and that neglect included supervisional neglect, with him being left for an extended period of time locked in an apartment. There was limited food, which eventually led to no food. And then he was also locked in the apartment from the outside. So he was unable to escape. So in the event that there was an emergency or he just wanted to leave, he was unable to do so. So those will all fall under neglect. And he also fell under the dependency as well, because he was left alone for an extended period of time and he was unable to care for himself adequately due to his age and cognitive ability. He was also unable to self-protect. So those would be the reasons, or some of the reasons, why we would have opened this case potentially. So just wanted to give you an example and put that into perspective. Right? Just so you guys know, the majority of children enter foster care on an emergent basis, which means just that. We sometimes get a phone call, it's 4 o'clock, it's Friday, and law enforcement is doing a drug raid. And just that quick, our life is upside down here and changes, and we are looking for placement, which often means there is limited information known about the child, and foster families have to make a decision to agree to accept placement in a short amount of time. To put this in perspective, based on the foster parents' acceptance criteria, which is done during the home study process, and that is what they are willing to accept or not willing to accept based on a child's special needs, a family or families are selected on who will best meet the needs of the child. This is often done over the phone, and the foster parents are provided whatever information the agency may know about the child, the reason for removal, and their special needs. And then the foster parent then has a limited time to consult with their partner if married or in a relationship, and then they agree to accept the placement. It literally goes that quick, and it can be done in a matter of minutes. So just kind of, again, want to put that in perspective so you kind of know what we're dealing with and what we're talking about on a daily basis. Now that I've provided a foundation of foster parenting, reasons a child can enter care, and how a foster family is selected for placement, I will now take parts from the book and from the daily interactions with children involved with agencies, and let's go on a journey. And now, imagine this. You are 8 years old. You arrive home from school to be met by strangers who tell you that you are moving out of the only home you have known for your safety to live in something called a foster home with people you do not know. You may or may not be placed with your siblings, dependent upon if a foster home can take you all. You may or may not be in the same school district with your friends and teachers. You may or may not be able to play soccer or play with the neighborhood friends that you've developed. You're told you will visit your parents, but you do not know when. You are told to grab a few of your belongings, but you are not sure how long you will be gone. You may or may not have belongings to even take with you. You're told to grab a favorite toy. All this is going on while your parents are crying, yelling, angry, maybe shouting obscenities, and law enforcement may be there. You walk outside after saying tearful goodbyes to see the van or the car, and you get in for a ride that changes your life forever. So you're looking out the window after being in this car with these strangers that you don't know, who took you away from your very existence. Throughout the car ride, they are making calls, they're asking you questions that you are not prepared to answer, and you cannot answer them anyway while sobbing. Your mind is spinning, and all you can think about are your parents and how sad your mom was when she was crying and yelling, asking, "Why are you taking my kids?" You know at 8 years old, your life will never be the same. You then look back out the window and you have arrived at Allen County Children's Services. As you go inside the building, you're just overwhelmed. You're thinking to yourself, what's a caseworker? A snack? Sure. Love luggage? I guess. Thanks, I think. Sometimes they argue, is that bad? Yeah, we have food most of the time. If not, I can eat at school. I don't know what an allergy is, or if I have it. Where do you keep an allergy? Questions? I have lots of questions. Where's my mom? A foster home? Have you seen my dad? After all the commotion, being rushed and ushered out of your home, taken in a van with people you don't know, going to a big colorful building, swarming with people, grabbing items, giving you snacks, asking you what feels like millions of questions, and then learning you're going to foster care. Imagine what Anton felt. Imagine what a child feels. What do you feel? Fear, anxiety, confusion, anger, sadness, a feeling of being uncertain, sometimes relief. And all of this is going on, and you may be so young, you do not even have the cognitive capacity to process what's happening, let alone verbalize these feelings. You then meet your new foster parents, who greet you warmly inside a room, and one of them signs some paperwork and is giving more paperwork about you, but this caseworker doesn't really know who you are. They just know a little bit about you. The other foster parent is striking up small conversation, asking you things like what food you like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite TV show or cartoon. They're telling you about their home. You'll have your own room and their family composition. You then walk outside with a new set of strangers to see yet another van or a car. Or you could be taken by caseworkers to this new foster home to meet these new foster parents in the same van or car that whisked you away from your normal, to ride in this van or car for the longest road that does not lead to home. As they're driving and you're arriving to this big new house, all you are thinking is, where the heck am I going? This isn't my house. As you go inside, you're still thinking, where's my stuff? I don't have my clothes, my toys, my siblings, my parents, nothing I know. You're looking at these foster parents and you're thinking, who are they? They don't look like me. It smells weird. What's that sound? Yikes, is that a dog? You sit down for dinner and all you're thinking is, I'm not eating that. They eat veggies? Where's the chips and noodles? I refuse to eat. These people eat together? Wow, your mind is blown. As you're sitting there at the dinner table, refusing to eat, now you're thinking, what should I call you? These foster parents are nice, but they're not my parents. I will call them by their first names because I already have my own mom and dad. Now they want to give me a tour of their home? I don't need a tour because I won't be here long. Wait, slow down. Which way is the bathroom again? House rules, you literally laugh. What are those? How does this foster lady know it will be all right? She would cry too if she wasn't at home. As they continue the tour, you go to the last place and then you think, is this where I'll sleep? This is not my bedroom. It is nice, and the bed looks comfy, is it okay if I sleep in this bed? Do my siblings have their own bed? Are they together? We usually sleep in the same bed. If my little sister cries, I typically make her bottle. Who will do it tonight? I do like this bed, and this foster parent lady told me I can decorate the room how I want. It is better than my room at home, but it's not my home. As you're sitting in this room alone, now all you're thinking is you feel guilt. At this point, it's not uncommon for a lot of youth that are in foster care to experience something called divided loyalty. In the previous slides, Anton battled with the notion of divided loyalty, which is a feeling of strong support for opposing groups. It is typical for children to feel a strong allegiance to their parents, despite the abuse and or neglect they have endured. And even when they like their foster parents or are given new or better belongings than what they had previously, they may still experience guilt. After all the events of the day, you or Anton feel exhausted and gets through the remainder of the evening, through bath time, and now it's time for lights out. Good night? Really? What's good about it? I don't know where my mom and dad are, or my siblings. I like the new clothes and shoes, but what's their names? I mean the foster parents. I don't like green beans, and I only like fried chicken, not baked. What school will I be going to? I wonder if my sister got her bottle. Where is the bathroom again? What if I get thirsty? They don't know I'm afraid of the dark. I do like this bed, but I miss my mom. After having swarming thoughts and all the events of the day, Anton is exhausted and he finally falls asleep, but after tossing and turning, awakes and thinks, where am I? It's dark. You're in an unfamiliar environment. What's that sound? Where's my mom and dad? Where's my siblings? The caseworker said it's not my fault, but if I would have not made my dad mad, he wouldn't have hit me. If I wouldn't have told anyone, my family would be together. I have to use the restroom, but it's dark and I can't remember where it is. I am so sad and alone and crying. After tossing and turning, you finally fall asleep, only awake the next day and think, oh no, it wasn't a dream. I'm still here. Anton wakes the next morning to a new day, a new home, a new foster family, possibly a new school, new foster siblings, new animals, new clothes, new sounds, new smells, new food, new rules, and a new routine, all while questioning if what he experienced in his biological home was truly normal and wishing he was home. It is not uncommon for youth in foster care to want to go back or return to an environment that was chaotic, but that's all they know, that's their normal. And they would rather go back there and be with their family than to be in a whole new environment. So it's literally a process of them trying to juggle and balance between the two. These slides have provided only a glimpse into what a child like Anton or one of the other 16,000 children experience their first night in foster care. As I tried to portray in this presentation, foster children experience an array of emotions and need foster families that are patient, accepting, and willing to meet a child where they are. They need someone that is compassionate and passionate while also being nurturing and reassuring. If you take nothing away from this presentation today, absolutely nothing, remember this: 100 years from now, it won't matter what kind of car you drove, what kind of house you lived in, how much money you had in the bank, nor what your clothes look like. But the world may be a little better because it was important, because you were important in the life of a child. So with that being said, that concludes my portion of the presentation. However, I do want to give everyone an opportunity to ask any questions, fair game, in regards to foster care, regards to what it's like, the process, what it's like for children, whatever you may want to ask.
If
Ericka,
you want to unmute, please feel free to do that so that you can be heard. But we do have a question in the chat from Sarah, who wants to know what we can do as a community to help.
That is awesome. Sarah, thank you for asking that great question. I think the biggest thing that we could do is, A, we need more foster homes. You hear that, we'll say it repeatedly, it's so important. We need more quality foster homes, and we definitely need more minority foster homes. Currently, we have 3 out of our 36 are African American. So we need more foster homes, we need more minority homes. For those of you who are now in these positions, if you could go out and who are our best recruiters, I'll tell you who they are. There are our foster parents, or there are people like yourselves who are involved with children's services who know the need. So if you're out and you see someone or they ask you any questions in regards to foster care, please feel free to have them reach out to us. We are always, always looking for foster parents.
We have a question in the chat as well, if you need luggage for the kids.
Awesome. So we do have something here called the Love Luggage Program. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it is an actual program that started, let's see, we're probably getting close to 10 years ago now, 8 or 10 years ago, where a group, I want to say, initially started with maybe a church, and a group of volunteers decided to do love luggage. So often, not so much, well, I'm not going to say that. Often foster children are coming into care and we're there, it's chaotic, it's a lot of commotion, and we're telling them to grab things and we have nothing to put it in because they don't have luggage at home. So they were coming into foster care with garbage bags. Mm-hmm. How demeaning is that? You're already, leaving everything you know. They're telling you that the stuff that you do own that's precious to you because it's from your family is being put in a garbage bag. So you're already processing all that, and then to add insult to injury, you have these garbage bags. So this group decided to do love luggage, which are basically literally that. They are book bags and or small luggage that are not just the actual luggage itself, but they fill them with items for like the first night. So for example, we may get a emergency call at 9 o'clock at night, and with COVID now, stores may not be open. So if you have an infant, they have in those bags diapers, wipes, shampoo, socks, undergarments, things like that can be used in an emergency basis. And then it's basically grouped off then by age and also by age and by sex, by gender. So it's like 0 to 2 in one bag, and then it's like 2 to 4, and they may have like a toy in there. Again, things that they need to get them through the first night. So we are always looking for luggage. If you want to be linked with that program, the contact person is Greg Sawinski, and you can contact him and I'm going to actually pull this slide up, at either that number that's listed there or at the website, and he'll reach out to you and you guys can link together. It's a really cool program. Kids love it. They get excited. It's something that's new and it's something that's needed, and they can take it with them to their new foster placement.
Okay, we had a question about, somebody wants to know why you think there aren't more minority foster homes.
Ooh, that's a good question. Since I am a minority, I'll speak freely and honestly. I think what happens is oftentimes I'll speak from the Afro-American and obviously perspective, is that typically they are attempting to do their own foster care. And what I mean by that is they're sometimes getting their grandkids, they're getting their nieces and nephews prior to agency involvement. So they may already be involved and have kids in their home. Or I think we're maybe not, and as an agency, we're maybe not targeting the right areas to get those families and pull them in. So I think it's a combination of we're not targeting correctly or fully, and some of those families are already exhausted because they've been doing their own care within their own community, and they may just be burnt out already, or they may already have other children placed with them. We also have in Ohio, but definitely a push here, we do something called kinship care. So kinship care is care that's provided by a kin or someone that's significant to that child. So that could be a teacher, a neighbor, It literally could be an aunt or an uncle, whoever's significant in the life of that child, and they are doing some of the caregiving. So that then gives us less of a pool of people to select as foster parents because they are, again, already caregiving. That's a really good question.
Okay, we have a question. Are children required to change schools if the foster home is in another district?
That is an excellent question, and it's yes and or no. So if it's the end of the school year and a kid comes into care, we try our best to keep that kid in the previous school district from the biological home. So that way they don't have to already be adjusting to foster care and then having to go to a new school, which may be light years beyond where they are, which is typical. A lot of our kids are coming from the city school district, and some of the other districts they're going to are sometimes beyond where they are. So we try our best to keep them there if it's like a couple months. Sometimes schools will provide transportation so that kids can get back and forth to their district, or foster parents agree to transport that child for that month or two to finish out. If they are going to be in a placement more on a long-term basis, they typically do switch school districts because it's easier for foster parents and it just makes more sense. That way, if there's other kids in the home, everybody's in the same school district.
Okay, again, from the chat, how many emergent cases would Allen, or do you think Allen County has had compared to last year and to 2019?
Ooh, good question. We have had, with COVID, obviously there was a spike initially. We believe or attribute that spike to the fact that everybody was at home at first, and sad as it is, that gave perpetrators easier access to children. Schools were not able to report. Our biggest mandated reporters are schools because they're seeing the kids every day. So they're knowing if those kids are coming to school dirty or if they're hungry, or those kids may be more willing or talking to teachers and or staff there. So they're doing more reporting. So there was a spike for sure, and then it's kind of leveled off. So 2020 probably would say we received more reports, especially initially at the beginning of COVID. So March, April of last year. And then it kind of leveled out. And then in November, we had a spike in my unit, in the foster care unit, where we took in 10 kids in 1 month. That doesn't happen often for a county our size. So it was a lot going on in November. It could be it's the holidays, people are stressed, they're not back to work. So abuse is happening more in the homes. So we're pretty consistent for the most part, but we definitely seen an increase initially with COVID.
Okay, the next question is, how long does it take to become a foster home, and how many foster homes would ideally be needed in our area?
So typically it takes up to 6 months to become a foster parent, and that depends on a range of things. Some of that, it depends on how fast that the worker can get to working with that family. I have 2 workers in my unit who are licensing specialists, so they go into the homes and do the actual home studies. So depending on that worker's caseload size, depending on how quickly the family is getting things done, like training, which it could be another hurdle depending on where you're traveling, when it's offered. Like the ones we do here are Tuesday, Thursdays, and a Saturday over a month period. So it really depends on work schedules, a combination of things. So we have 180 days to complete a home study from the date that we receive their completed application. So it has to be done within that time frame. I've seen some done in a month and a half, 2 months, and I've seen some take 6 months, and I've seen some that we had to actually ask for an extension. So it really just depends, but typically 6 months or less. And then what was part 2 of that question?
How many foster homes would ideally be needed in our area?
This is going to sound so cliche, the more the merrier. And I say that because at any given time, we could have a month where we have 10 kids. And if we only have maybe 20 homes that are active, their homes get full quick, and then we need those homes. We also need, when foster parents are licensed, they can do something called respite, which is like giving a break to another foster family, whether it be for them to have a date night or whether for them to go on vacation or whatever the case may be. I strongly encourage foster families to take, I call them date nights, along the way, because they are parenting, they are doing foster parenting, they are working, they're doing the same things that we are doing times 10, and they need that break as a couple to maintain some sanity. So I really encourage respite. So with those foster homes, the more we have, the easier it is for us to utilize our families in our own network that are already licensed, that are already approved, and we can go. When I started in this unit, let's see, many years ago, I've been here almost 17 years, and I started out in this unit. We probably had double what we have for licensed homes, so maybe in almost near 60 or maybe even a little bit over, and we were literally utilizing all those homes. The reason why there was such a decrease was a range of things. Some of those foster families then become adoptive families because they start adopting those children that they're coming, into their home, and that they're not able to return home, so they adopt them. So then they grow, they get full, and they can no longer license. Some people do it for a brief period and realize, you know what, this isn't for me, and that's okay, and they move on. And I think it's just been a decrease all around because people have been stressed, and it's just been so much going on in the world. But I always tell people it's better to have 30 extra than not have enough. So the more the merrier. I would like to grow and maybe see us get back into the 60 range, just so we can have that the availability. It also gives us a chance to best match kids with the family that's better for them. Sometimes we're limited within our own network because we only have 36 homes, and if we maybe had more to choose from, we could do a better job of placing kids where they need to be.
Okay, we got a compliment from Sarah, who said that she appreciates the perspective on minorities. And we have a question about, do you need to be licensed to do respite care?
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I so appreciate that. And let me do some additional explaining. So we would prefer that you be licensed to do respite care. You can become licensed as a foster only home, and then you can let us know, because you're in the driver's seat, and say, hey, I really just want to do respite. We will be thrilled because we're always, again, looking for respite placements. With that being said, foster families have to do something or complete a form called a substitute care provider list. Basically what that is, those are actual people that foster family trust and identify as who they will want to utilize in the event of an emergency. So let's say foster parents both work first shift, and this is actually a real example that we're dealing with right now this week. And we have a young man who is epileptic, and he's had to be picked up from school on 3 different occasions this week. Both of the parents, again, work first shift. One of them is a teacher and one of them is a banker. So it's not very easy for them to leave. So they were able to utilize their substitute care provider list, which are identified as one of it is his mother, and the other person, I believe, is their neighbor. So they were able to call the neighbor and the grandmother to come and pick that youth up, so they didn't have to leave the home. Those particular people do have to have background checks, but they don't have to have a complete full home study and be licensed. So if a foster family identifies one of you guys as a substitute care provider, that'd be awesome. All we would do was just do some background checks to ensure that everything was okay. We would add you to their list, and then in the event they wanted to take a weekend or there was an emergency situation, we could utilize that home, if that makes sense.
All right, are there other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and turn the recording off.